It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Shorman and this is The Forum on Eagle Community Television. The Forum is brought to you by Hayes Med. Good to have you watch today. We're going to talk politics once again, and we have Chad Taylor, who is our guest today. Chad, a Democrat, is running for the U.S. Senate.
Yes, sir.
First off, you have to get through the primary.
We do.
But even before that, you're a farm kid, grew up in Silver Lake.
I am.
What takes a farm kid from Silver Lake into running for the U.S. Senate seat?
Well, you know, when you grow up with that type of environment and with the education and the work ethic, I always tell people, you know, one of the great things about the community that I grew up in was my folks always knew I was in trouble before I did. I think that's still probably true to this day. But it's a nice feeling, and it's a very grounding feeling, even as the district attorney in Shawnee County, to know that when I'm putting gas in my car at the grocery store with my wife or something like that, people still view you as accessible, and they'll let you know exactly what they think of the job that you're doing. And I think that being close to the people that you're representing really gives you a close bond with them and a good tie, and it keeps you grounded and humble, and you know, they don't hesitate to let you know when you're doing right or doing wrong.
Now, I understand that you still live in Silver Lake or in that area?
We do. My wife and I were able to buy my folks' farm last March from them, and so we've been living out there a little over 2 years now, and so it's a great place. It's God's country.
Now, when you talk about growing up on the farm and living on the farm, that just seems a long, long way from Washington, D.C.
It is. You know, I think if you look back at the founding fathers and where they came from and the backgrounds that they had and the work ethic that they possessed and the common sense approach that they took to governance, I think that we need more people like that in Washington. You know, I don't think that our forefathers...
Common sense in Washington?
Yeah, I don't think our forefathers ever intended for those to become full-time jobs. We pass laws, we go back, and we live underneath them with the citizenry that's governed by them as well. And we've gotten so far away from that.
You know, that's going to be a hard thing to change, because it seems like there was an era where the cooperation seemed to be something that actually happened in Washington. Now it seems like just nothing happens.
Yes. You know, I had the opportunity when I first decided to run. I went over and met with retired Congressman Dennis Moore out of Kansas City in the 3rd District over there. And Dennis was also a district attorney. So once we got done swapping our war stories about, you know, prosecuting cases and crime and those type of topics, he looked at me and he said, Chad, he said, you need to understand that when I went to Washington, 90% of what we did there was about doing what was right for the people of Kansas and doing what's right for the American people. And about 10% of it was partisan politics. He said now those two dynamics have been flipped upside down. 90% of what they do there is engage in partisan rancor, bickering, feuding, being politically divisive, and 10% is caring about the American people. And you know, there's a very smart guy who lived on this earth, and his name was Albert Einstein. And he had a very, very famous quote, and he said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Well, if we keep sending the same people back to Washington, I think we already know what the outcome is going to be. In my professional life, I will tell you, as the Democratic elected district attorney in Shawnee County, I've worked with Republican sheriffs, Republican police chiefs, and I just can't imagine for the life of me them coming to the office and saying, look, we've got this crime, we need a search warrant, we need to do this, we need to do that, and me looking at them and going, well, you know, I think I'm going to filibuster that search warrant because you were both Republicans. That type of insanity doesn't make sense to me.
Well, we're talking about that. There are some people that would say Kansas is a pretty red state. You're running and you have a primary.
I do.
You have it on the Democratic side. Did anybody just say, Chad, you're nuts?
You know, we definitely face the David and Goliath battle. We really do. But what's very, very encouraging is if you look at the polling numbers that came out last week in that very red state with an opponent who has raised more money than we ever will through his connections in Washington, we're within 10 points. And the fact that we've been able to do that with the limited resources that we have tells me that what the people told me back in June, July, August, September of last year is that the people of America, and more specifically the people of Kansas, are sick and tired of business as usual. They're tired of the gridlock. They're tired of nothing being done, and they're tired of the people that they've sent to Washington voting against their self-interest. And that's really where I think the divide is going to be between the electorate in this particular election cycle versus those looking back historically.
Now, you've been out on the campaign trail.
I have.
You checked out and you've been running around the state. What are people telling you?
Are
there specifics?
Yes, there are. The general overall theme is that, number one, they're angry. They're frustrated. A lot of folks in this part of the world and in farming communities are very frustrated that the ag bill was voted against by our United States Senator Pat Roberts. And then the next day, after he votes against it, he turns around and sends a letter to the president talking about how, based upon the importance of the ag bill and how farmers are dependent upon it, that the implementation needs to be done and funded immediately. I find that hypocrisy very troubling. In addition to that, and with the backstop of the ag bill for our producers being crop insurance, and with small community banks and implement dealers and folks that are secondary or tertiary businesses that derive off of the ag economy that we have here in our state, being basically put on hold and being left in limbo. A lot of people don't know that ag production is 28% of our state's domestic product that we put out every year. So playing gamesmanship with the livelihood of over 25% of our economy, or approximately 25% of our economy, is dangerous. They're frustrated, and a lot of it has to come down with economics. In traveling in other parts of the state, I've talked anecdotally to several grandparents and parents who are extremely troubled that they're now having conversations with their children and their grandchildren to where they're having conversations about leaving Kansas to pursue professional opportunities because the jobs and the business growth are not present in our state. And from the Kansas that I grew up in, that's such a foreign concept to me, and I think that that's really the priority that people are looking for is who wants to go to Washington, who wants to roll their sleeves up, who wants to actually get to work. And guess what? Being successful and having Kansans be successful is not a Democratic issue and it's not a Republican issue. It's an issue that's right for all the people of this state. And that's really what they're focusing on is the economy, economic issues, and then of course funding for education so that we can continue moving forward and keeping our schools and our kids well educated and competitive, not just within the state and within the nation, but globally.
One of the things I know that has happened, and in part has to do with health care, the Democrats as a party have been connected to health care.
Yes.
And how do you handle that question? Because there's a lot of Kansans that aren't happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking specifically about the Affordable Care Act, I will tell you that when you actually remove all of the gas from the talking heads who make their living on the 24-hour news cycle, just getting people stirred up, when you get down and you actually start having conversations with real Kansans about the Affordable Care Act, you can talk to anybody who works in the healthcare world. Our healthcare system, as it existed, was not maintainable. It was going to continue to expand and consume and expand and consume. They're getting into the specifics with the Affordable Care Act. There are things that people really like about it. They like the fact they can keep their kids on their insurance until they're 26. They like the fact that there are no caps, no lifetime caps. They like the fact that if you have found yourself in that God forbid situation to where you have a cancer or a diabetes or a heart disease diagnosis, that they can't preclude you or ban that pre-existing condition. And lastly, one of the things that we've learned is that because of the economic downturn, there have been a substantial number of people who have been underemployed, working a job, paying them less than what they were making before, just to have health insurance, while on the side they've been moonlighting doing something that they enjoyed and that they were good at. Well, not having that anchor anymore to that underemployed employer allows them to go out on the open market to actually be able to grow those small businesses and those entrepreneurial endeavors, which, as we all know, are the backbone of the American economy.
I bet you're getting questions along that line.
Absolutely.
From Kansas, and I think that's why you're out doing the campaign.
Yes.
Making sure you hear those things and do that. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and there's a couple of things. One is you've had two successful campaigns.
Yes.
for district attorney.
Yes.
For Shawnee County. And how will that play in? We're going to talk about how that plays into your primary coming up. We'll also find out some more about how to find out more about you.
Okay,
When you
great.
come back. Our guest today is Chad Taylor, and he is the Shawnee County District Attorney, but he's running for the U.S. Senate seat and have a primary, and then eventually they'll be against Senator Pat Roberts in the campaign in November. We'll be back with more after this.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hayes Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.hayesmed.com.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum program here on Eagle Community Television. We record this every Monday afternoon live at our Dillon's location on Vine Street. So if you haven't been coming by doing your shopping, be sure and drop by and say hi on Monday afternoons. Our guest today is Chad Taylor, and Chad is running for the U.S. Senate seat on the Democratic ticket. We going to come back and talk about just a couple of items. One of those, and before we get into some specifics on how to find out more about you,
Okay.
education has been an issue in Kansas. It's been everything from teacher tenure to how you afford it. How do you look at that from being in Washington and trying to solve that problem? Because it seems like the state's had a hard time funding it.
You know, I think that you have to look at it, and a lot of what we're focusing on in this campaign is the Kansas economy. And I think that one of the important things you have to acknowledge is when you're trying to recruit businesses and you're trying to recruit employers to come to the state of Kansas, they're going to bring employees with them. And if you think about where the priorities of those employees are going to be, it's going to be on good schools for their kids, and it's going to be on good and well-funded higher education. So I think that when you start eroding your commitment to public schools and for the benefit of the future of I mean, let's face it, the kids that are in junior high and high school today are going to be the kids that are going to take care of us as we age and as we get older. They're going to be the next leaders. They're going to be the next doctors that will take care of us when we're sick, the next round of lawyers, farmers, all of those occupations that are going to be so important to keeping our economy moving. And so if we short circuit that process now, we've really done ourselves a disservice. I have the opportunity as district attorney to speak a lot about funding, education, after school programs, kind of that youth awareness. And what I will tell you is that we're spending a nominal amount of money a year to educate a child versus what we're paying to incarcerate an adult. And so we can either invest the money on the front end or we're going to pay on the back end. But it's a lot cheaper to make the investment on the front end and do it right.
One of the things I know, and you see this from the county attorney's seat, is that process going on. The
Yes.
kids that fall out of the school programs
Yep.
end up somewhere, and that's a challenge that you face every day, I assume.
Yes, we work with a lot of our local community partners. Obviously, the largest school district in Shawnee County is 501. We work with them. We work with all of the surrounding school districts, and really the goal and focus is to try to keep, and even with programs like the Boy Scouts, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Boys and Girls Club, and helping to make sure that there's someone out there that can try to reach out to those kids to keep them in school. I mean, you can look at the data, the economic data on a person's lifetime earning potential if they drop out of high school versus if they graduate. That's the biggest wage disparity between any other income bracket in our modern culture. And so investing in them kids and trying to let them know why that high school diploma is so important to them.
We wrap things up here, and we have an audience out here that's looking. They may not know you.
Okay.
They may not have ever met you. Why should they vote for you in the Democratic primary against your opponent, which is another rural Kansan?
Yes.
One that didn't grow up really too far from Hayes, Kansas here. Why should they vote for you? And
Okay.
then we'll ask the second question. If you make it past that first step, why should they vote for you versus Senator Roberts? So first off, what gets you through the primary? What's going to help you win the primary, and why should they vote for you?
Okay, the simple reason, or the simple answer to that is that I'm a pragmatic problem solver. You can go back and investigate my record as district attorney, the ability to work in a bipartisan environment, even through the last 2 years in the Kansas legislature of getting our grand jury bill passed and through. Pragmatic problem solving and putting the people of Kansas first, ahead of politics and ahead of party, is really what I think the people of the state need, and I think it's what they're looking for. So I'd ask for your vote in the August primary.
Now, if you do that, that's
Yes.
successful. Next thing is a U.S. Senator that's been a U.S. Senator for many years.
Yes.
How do you convince that voter that you're the right guy and not a long-term senator?
I think the important thing to focus on in there is that I'm a Kansan. Live here every day, work here every day. And I think that our present representation in Senator Roberts, he's chosen to live his life in Virginia. And I think that he is out of touch with the Kansas voters. I think he's out of touch with the problems that we're facing here. The men and women who are in here, buying their groceries to feed their families, the stresses and the pressures that they're under, with the cost of food going up, with the cost of energy going up. All the costs are continuing to rise while wages are stagnating or turning downward. That's an untenable position for the middle class to be in. And that's really, those are my roots. That's where I came from. And having someone who is actually going to be an advocate for the people of Kansas, as opposed to special interest and big business, I think is the type of leadership that we've been sorely lacking, and leadership that the people of the state are looking for.
If somebody goes to your website, they see your family farm.
Yep.
They see a couple of your dogs. We
Yes.
talked about that earlier.
Farley and Reagan.
Yeah, they were right on there. They're starring. When you look at that, your family grew up there. Tell me about your family, because forget the politics stuff.
Okay.
Tell me about your family and your dogs if you want.
My dad has a background as a pipe fitter and did refrigeration technology. He worked his way up to being a project manager for Falley's Food for Less. So as a kid, I got to travel all over the Midwest with him while he was building grocery stores. My mom was a housewife who did bookkeeping for businesses and raised probably 3 of the honoriest boys that the good Lord ever put on this earth. And my wife is the CEO of the Marion Clinic in Topeka, Kansas, which takes care of underinsured and uninsured members of our society who don't have health insurance to be able to go into the hospitals or into doctors' offices to receive medical care.
Well, you can find out more by going to your website. Tell us about the website, or how to get a hold of you if somebody wants to find more about you.
Yes. The website is taylor4ussenate.com, and that is FOR, not the number 4. Or they can call the campaign office, which is 785-783-8030. Or you can email if that's your preferred mode of communication at info@taylor4ussenate.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, every social media site that's out there and known to man, we're on it.
Which is a whole new way to conduct a campaign, isn't it?
It is.
Well, if you get a chance, go to the website. You'll find out more there and follow up that way. Chad, appreciate you being here,
Absolutely.
being a
Thanks
part of
for
our
having me.
program today,
Yep.
and enjoying our grocery store environment here.
It's
There's
always-
a first for everything,
Yeah,
isn't there?
When I was a kid, I actually worked in a grocery store, so I have the experience. I've been working in the produce department, but
We'll go back and check out a couple of the
Yeah.
tomatoes back there.
but it's always good to be in Hayes, America.
Good to have you here. Chad
Thank you.
Taylor is our guest. He's running for the U.S. Senate seat on the Democratic ticket. Again, you can check them out at Chad Taylor, or Taylor for USSenate.com.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. The Forum is brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communication, our community connected.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hayes Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.hayesmed.com.